I communicate with my husband in such a way that he encourages me to be independent. He encourages me to have those freedoms. And he never makes it so that he never makes me feel that, you know, I depend on him at all in any way, shape, or form. And as a matter of fact, if I'm down on myself, or if I'm really hard on myself, he's the one who's behind me and he's pushing me, and he's just like, you got this. He's like, I didn't marry a weak woman. You know, I married a strong woman that can take care of herself, and who is independent and who has these freedoms. So I went into it with a little trepidation, but I'm growing now because I have a support system that encourages that independence and that freedom.
Nice.
I agree with that. To me, being in love should feel like freedom. It should be freeing. It should be liberating. As I totally agree with that. And if you feel otherwise, if you feel trapped, enslaved, or like a ball on a chain, you're in the wrong relationship. You're with the wrong person. So, so that fact that your husband was behind you the way that he, or is behind you the way that he is freeing for you. You're with the right person.
Nice.
I agree with you, Leah.
Yeah,
I am.
Nice, nice. So let's see here. Pearl. Well, no. Yeah, Pearl. We're going to go with Pearl. What roles do past relationships play in your ability or inability to commit?
Ooh.
Oh, he gave you the hard one, Pearl.
Well, let me just start by saying my marriage was an abusive one. And
Yeah.
I'll take a pause there. And it wasn't physical, it was emotional. So those inside bruises that take a long time to heal. And so basically, no, I'm not going to go into that. But my reaction to men and relationships, especially from 2004 on when I got divorced, was I had a lot of pause because, you know, I can't run into this same type of situation again. I didn't have a voice, and it took me quite a long time to finally find my voice. And so at that time, although I desired commitment, one, I don't think I was ready, and two, I didn't know who to trust. So it took a long time to get to the place where I thought, okay, maybe I am ready for this now. And it had gotten to the place where I was thinking, kind of to jump back to one of those other questions about freedom, I was thinking, I'm comfortable, this is okay, I can stay here. But in the back of my mind, I didn't want to get used to being single. So one of my biggest fears after I found my voice was, okay, now you don't need anybody, so you can just keep being you and don't worry about a relationship. But the funny thing was, I desired to be in a relationship. I desired to marry again for the sake of, I need to be able to see if I can do it right, to see if I really truly have found my voice. And so I still struggle there. But I'm fortunate enough to have found someone who has just a little bit of patience to help keep me going and keep encouraging me and making me speak my mind and remembering that I have my voice. So it took a while, but I'm learning.
That's awesome.
Awesome. I'm starting to see a little bit of a pattern here, maybe early on, so that your partner plays a huge role in your comfort level of committing and being able to commit, or running like the devil in the other direction. So
I had to try to step back and not try to make everybody be that same person that I just divorced. And so I started out in looking in relationships and trying to see, am I going to run into a man like this? As soon as I saw a sign of mental illness, I wouldn't even let myself get close. And so I had to kind of heal from that and then start looking at everybody as, this is a person I need to get to know. This is not a person who's out to hurt me. And just take it one step at a time. But it took me quite a bit of time to get to this place. So I'm glad I'm here. And I know every day I have to consciously remind myself, you have your voice. What you say has value. You are important. I have to kind of keep that going. And he's really good at doing that too, when I actually get back and slide back into the funk and get into that quiet, comfortable place that I had been in for so long.
I definitely
Yeah.
agree. That
That is
healing journey is something else.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
Like,
I
and
gotta
it
tell you.
honestly is never ending. Like, you really have to be conscious about a lot day to day, especially if you've been hurt that deep before, you know, prior. And like, I could kind of resonate with a lot that she's saying. I was married, well, I was in a relationship with a person that I was married to for 13 years. We were married 8, and then 5 years dated in a relationship. We had 1 kid together. And then after that, you know, even looking back, you know, I took some time, but at that time, I didn't take enough time for me, and then ended up in another relationship. So I found myself healing throughout my current relationship. So even though my partner is very patient, and, you know, it's not just a one-sided, because we all have to heal from our own trauma or deals in life and experiences. So it's not just, you know, as women, it's men too. I'm glad now I have a partner who's willing to look at themselves and see what it is that they need to do for their own proper healing, so that we can be better together to move forward to whatever future or betterment we want or desire together. But within that, like I said, it's just, you have to constantly remain conscious about all and everything. You have to stay prayed up. You know, still quiet moments with God, because you have to keep God first. Without God, like you, there's no way. I don't even understand how people can even go through life without him. Like, at the end of the day, like, it's tough. It's really tough. And then especially, I think one of the lady said earlier, when you're balancing, you know, a heavy load workload, you know, you're an entrepreneur, or you're in the process of building, you know, businesses, and you're a mother, and on top of that, wife or a girlfriend, or, you know, you have a partner. It's just a lot. It can definitely be a lot.
I think it's a common thread among women, a common thread I wish we didn't have, but we harbor pain, and we're traumatized by a lot of the abuse, whether it's physical and whether it's emotional. And I thought it would get easier as I got older. You know, I'd be able to be like, you know, okay, I'm a big girl now, you know, I've gone through this, and I know what I want, and I know how to deal, and, you know, I know how to stand my ground, and if I have something to say, I'm going to say it. But every once in a while, I do drift back to the pain of being, you know, just betrayed, my trust being violated, just those moments where you're feeling like you give so much and you're not getting it in return.
Yeah.
And I do find myself, you know, having I always joke, I'm just like, I have these conversations with myself in the shower, where I'm just like, girl, you should have said this. And why did you say
Yeah.
this?
Yes.
If I had to do all of that over again, I'd be
Yeah.
like, I would lay it down. I'd shut it down. All the answers would be right, and my reactions and my facial
Yeah.
features would be, you know, but that's all hindsight, right? So you just kind of, you learn from the pain and you grow through the pain. But I think it would be disingenuous to say that you completely get over it, because, you know, you use it as
Yeah.
an armor. I
You
use it to protect
you
myself.
carry it with you, and it changes you. And I
Yeah.
think that's what people don't understand, is that it changes you, and you're not. I once had to write a paper about my first love, and I think what I realized through that process is that when you first fall in love, the very first time, you're kind of in free fall, right? You love this person, you trust this person, it's the most beautiful thing in the world, and so you're in free fall, and you just assume that that person will catch you. But when you go crashing to the ground, now you're afraid to fall again.
Yeah.
So now you're always bracing. It's not that you're not going to fall again, it's just that you're bracing for that fall now. And so that's where you get that protectionism, where you know, yeah, I love you, but, you know, only to an extent, because, you know, you might, you know, decide to step out the way while I'm falling, and I got to catch myself. So you learn how to protect yourself, and you're just not that, you know, free-flowing person. I'm still, you know, in contact with my first love. And he's like, you're a totally different person. I am totally different. I'm totally different now. I'm not even that woman anymore because I learned through that process. And then every heartbreak you have, you learn something more and you get a little bit, you know, more knowledge, and you get a little bit more scared, if we're being honest, and you get a little bit more hesitant. And you just, at some point you go, you know what? I know I can trust me. So I'm going to be in a relationship with me. And maybe you might, you know, you might figure in. And going back to my marriage, one of the reasons that I wasn't open is because in the very beginning of our relationship, he was, you know, always overstepping, you know, that safety line where I didn't feel safe in that relationship. So at some point you go, okay, I know I'm not safe here. So I'm not letting you into these spaces. I'm not letting you into these spaces. There's going to be specific spaces I invite you into, and then some spaces that are completely closed off to you. So I think that that's what happens. And I don't think that people are honest about it.
I agree, Nika. We're not
Yeah.
honest with each other, and we're not honest with other people.
Yeah.
It's like a part of your innocence is taken away. That part of your innocence is gone, and
Yeah.
you evolve into that new person because you change. So you
change.
continually evolve into that new person because you're not the same innocent. You don't have that same.
Yeah. You have
Scale.
knowledge. It's like the tree of
Yeah.
life, right?
Right.
When Adam ate that apple, he was like, oh, I
Yes.
see things now.
Right.
Mhm.
So, Ms.
Exactly.
Leah, right? Got the next one. Get another chance. Look like you stumbled a bit, so we're going to give you another shot. So, next question is,
You got this, Leah. What?
what do you use to gauge if someone is willing to commit to you?
Well, one of the things that I use to gauge if somebody is committed to me is quality time. How much time is he spending with me, and how much time is he willing to spend with me? That's a big one. Another one is how often are we talking? Does he call me? Does he pick up the phone when I call him? And are we talking about a bunch of superficial stuff, or are we diving a little deeper? Is he asking the right questions? Is he, does he want me to ask him questions? You know, I was involved with someone before that did not want me to ask him questions. He said, no, I don't do questions. Let's just live. Let's just
Do not
and
do
he would
questions.
not- yeah, he did not. Mind you, I only had 3 dates with him. It ended quickly, but he did not want questions, and he
3 days.
barely called me. He did not want to talk on the phone. Phone wasn't his thing. But honestly, I like to dig deeper. That's just me. I like to dig deeper. I like to peel the layers. I want to get into the soul, like the very depths of who you are. And if you prevent that for me, then I exit pretty quickly. I just want to know if he's genuinely want to be with me and genuinely want to get to know me. And quality time and conversation are the two things that I look for.
And what type of person is he in general? You know, like I'm like you, I'm one of those people that dig deep, and oftentimes, and I guess I can maybe even ask y'all for y'all's experience, I've noticed a lot of guys do not want, or they do dislike that you are like that, like you're a deep thinker, or you peel back layers, or you want to be in the known about everything. And my thing is, like, how can we even be considered partners if we don't share, or we don't know, or
Right.
You know, in situations where, you know, I don't know if y'all ever heard how they say women will test you at the end of the day. I know from myself, I'm very much that individual, because in order for me to like truly trust, and going back to what we were talking about earlier, take that guarded feeling off of my heart and off of my mind. Like, I have to know, you know, at the end of the day, you will catch me when I fall, or that I feel secure and safe. And so I agree with Leah, like at the end of the day, like, if I'm peeling back those layers and I'm asking questions, and I don't feel like there's that bond, that vibe, then, oh no, that is a red flag, or, there's something going on, so I agree totally with you, Leah.
You have to respect my
Ma'am.
feelings and who I am and what I
Right.
bring to the table. I'm a very emotional, hypersensitive person. I own it. It works when it works when it's good. It works when it's the nurturing part, and it's annoying when it's annoying. So, but that's who I am. And if somebody cannot meet me there and respect it and accept it and understand it, then that is not the person that I want to have a commitment with, because I know for myself, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm going to do the best I can to accept you where you are and what you need and what you want and what you expect. And it's a learning process. It's always going to be a learning process, because, I've had times where I'm just like, but I mean, I feel like I'm the most open and honest and accepting person in the world. And then I'll have a conversation with my husband and he's just like, nah, sis, you didn't get it.
Yeah.
You missed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I literally have to stop and think, you know what? He feels too. He has emotions, he has feelings, he has needs, he has things that I need to understand. Whether or not I get it, that's something that I have to work on, but I should at least respect it, because I expect that from him.
And don't waste my time. I think that's the biggest thing. And I'm at an age, you guys, we're all over 40. Don't waste our time. We have
I'm the baby.
families. Okay, well, you're not, of course, but
And my ears are open, ladies.
I'm not even giving my age. Y'all are here messing around. You don't need to know.
No, it's like
I'm in my
I make
30s.
time for the things that are important. So if I make time for you, I expect you to respect my time.
Exactly.
If you waste my time more than once, then I'm done. I have things to do.
But you have to say that in the beginning. And I
Oh,
think
I say
that's
it.
where, see, and that's where a lot of us fall. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want a confrontation. We don't want to seem like that woman who's, complaining, or, who wants to just stretch the limits of the relationship. And we're not establishing ourselves as women with voices,
Right,
with needs,
Right.
So you set the precedent, and then when the precedent catches up with you, now you're upset.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found myself in that situation also. So being able to speak up, Nika, I commend you on that. Like right away, boom, just put it
But
down.
then there's the flip side of that, because then you're being told that you're talking to them like they're your employee. So no,
that sounds how they receive it. We can't be responsible for how a message is received. We can only be responsible for how we convey the message, and if we do it with respect and a degree of understanding, if you take it the wrong way, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't mean to hurt you,
Right.
but I have to let you know how I feel.
I think that Liz hit a very high and important note in that she said if we convey it with respect and with the intent to coming from a place of peace, you're coming from a place that's calm, you're sharing information. It's not so much being blurted out as an order, or as a, well, this is what it is, take it or leave it sort of thing. Because I think that all people would be offended in that sense. If your man turned around and told you, this is what it is, take it or leave it, this is how I am, then we would feel some kind of way. So I think that's monumental in that.
No, I think everyone, but I just think that sometimes people don't like you to be honest with them. I just think people they don't want you to be honest with them, and they want you to play along.
I agree.
I don't have time to play along with your shenanigans.
I have a question for Miss Pearl. So, have you or anyone you know either willingly or inadvertently sabotaged the relationship when they got close to the commitment stage?
I have not. And let me say I've seen that on television, but I don't, none of my friends have done that. is it possible? Of course it is. But you know what? Let me, my daughter has done things like that. And I don't even know if she's aware of it, but she's pretty open with me about what's going on with her. And so she'll tell me, oh, Mom, I met a guy and he's this and he works here and he seems so nice and we have nice conversations. And then she'll tell me about that guy maybe for a week or two. And then eventually there's something wrong with him. And so she doesn't necessarily sabotage, but she starts to then back away. Like, okay, never mind. I liked him, but I don't. So she did have a relationship with a guy that I told her she should leave alone because she was manipulating him in a way, and she would change how she felt and kind of want to drag him along and then want to push him away, but she wanted him to be there when she wanted him and that kind of thing, but not to sabotage. But I think that she's looking for the ideal man in her picture, but he's like a fictional character. And so once she gets close enough to a guy to realize he doesn't match the idea in her head, she slowly backs away.
I've seen it for sure.
I've seen it too.
I've seen it in certain friendships, not me personally, but I have, I know people that have experienced childhood traumas. They have abandonment issues, self-esteem issues, pain from past relationships. Dealing with all of those things, ultimately, they feel unworthy of love. So they find loopholes to get out of the relationship before they're found out, before the spotlight of unworthiness is on them. And they just
loopholes. That's the right word.
Wait, what?
I found a way out.
Loopholes. That's the right word.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But ultimately, that's what happens. They don't feel like they're worthy of it. They feel like it's too good to be true. Something has to be wrong, and they find a way out of it because they feel like if I don't do it now, they'll do it because they're going to find out that I'm unworthy, I'm stupid, I'm a mess, whatever lies they're telling themselves in their head.
In addition to that, a lot of times I read a great book. It was by Joyce Myers. After my divorce, I went through, prior to my divorce, I was going through counseling. I call her my spiritual godmother. But she suggested that I read a book by Joyce Myers called Fear of Rejection. And so what I've learned too, just reading that book, and then also, my own experiences, throughout life with the relationships, people, and et cetera, that going back to what Leah said about those traumatic events in people's lives, and sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. Because of the fear of rejection, you typically tend to do things that will often cause situations to where you feel like you have to flee, or this might not be right, you throw your guards up, or manipulate situations, etc. So I thought that book was a really good book in that sense because it allows you to identify why you are fearing the rejection, where the rejection came from, or where does it stem from? Because a lot of times, like I said, it could be deeper than what you even realize.
Yeah.
And so, or even like, what was the cause of where it started? And then also to take and stop putting boundaries on, your life. Like, in other words, you go walking into a situation and say, well, I'm not going to do this, this, and this because this, and that happened to me. Well, you're putting up a wall of rejection yourself. So it's almost like, don't do that to yourself. Allow yourself to be vulnerable in situations so that you can learn a new way of going about it. So until it's almost like those cycles, the cycles will continue to happen until you learn a different, way around it, or, how to, just go about it differently in general. So I thought that was a good little book.
Nice.
I wrote that down.
So next question is, we're going to throw this one at Liz. Do you feel that some women create or contribute to some of the problems they have with commitment?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not even going to try to move all the way around it. I'm going to go direct. I think we carry a lot of baggage. I think we carry a lot of hurt feelings. I think we project a lot of what we've felt about other people to somebody we may be dating, and we don't have enough introspection before we enter relationships. Like, we don't fix us before we try to become part of an us. And because we're going in so damaged and so unsure and fearful, we make the relationship more complicated than it needs to be. And, you know, and obviously I can only speak for myself and for my girlfriends, my closest girlfriends, when we have these conversations. But at the end of every conversation, and as we've matured, we have realized that it's because, you know, we're not right with who we are. We're all successful women, educated, funny. You know, we can have a good time and we can have an intelligent conversation, but there are pieces of us that are missing. There are voids there that we have not worked on. And then we expect to get into a relationship and either expect this person to accept it, understand it, fix it, or fill it. And it's not fair. You're putting way too much on another person. And I have learned that a lot of times I'm the source. I have to look and see exactly what it is I'm doing, or what it is I'm saying, and what it is I'm feeling, get right with that, and then I can have a conscious discussion and conversation with somebody about how I may have been, you know, a bigger part of the problem, if not the problem in and of itself in certain situations.
Awesome. Does anyone have anything to add to that one? Looks like she kind of
Take care of it.
Yes, it is.
kind of knocked that one out of the park. Let's see here. Goodwin. So does your, and this is, we're going to leave this one open. Does your perception of a man's ability to provide determine your decision to commit?
No,
For me, it
All
does.
Sorry.
She was the first to say something, so Lanika, let's hear it after. Let's
Mm.
expand.
I mean, I probably shouldn't have said anything. I just, no. I don't care really how much money somebody makes and their ability to provide. I mean, I can provide for myself. When I was in my 20s and 30s, that was important to me. Now I'm kind of set. I kind of don't need a man to provide for me. I'm more concerned with his ability to partner with me going forward, his desire to partner with me going forward. Does he have his own life together? And there's not a number that I have in my head where that works. I think just, can you pay your own bills and can you support yourself is more important to me. Just in terms of just being responsible, right? But as far as the relationship, that really doesn't play into it. His ability to provide love, commitment, honesty, all those things are important, but his ability to provide financially, no, not for me.
I agree with her. And the reason why I agree with her is simply because you'll have a guy who may have the money, may have the opportunity to be able to provide, but will choose not to provide. And so what I mean by that is he may have, okay, as far as bills, y'all might be going half, whereas he makes more. There may not be opportunities where he say, okay, hey, are you okay this week? Here's something, go get your hair, go get your nails done. I want you to go to get a massage, stuff like that. Whereas you may have another guy who may not have the ability to provide maybe as much as that other guy, the individual, and yet he's more willing to provide. So in that case, I feel like it is really determined on the type of partner you end up being with, not necessarily the person that you generally meet a lot of times, because a lot of guys will come off as they have money because that's just a man's thing. I got it going on. I have money. I have, whatever. But then at the end of the day, are you willing to provide for an individual? And I'm like myself, like I said earlier, I'm a dominant woman, very independent, to the point where I'm going to make things happen for myself. But then on the flip end, or if I were to fall, would you be able to catch me? But would you be willing to catch me in that sense? Or would you downplay it and say, oh, you don't have it together? Well, I thought you're supposed to have it together, or, you know, little things like that, or make me feel like less than because I'm now in a situation that I may have not been prior. Little things like that. So that's why I say I kind of agree with what she stated.
See, I see it differently. I go into it, I don't expect you to provide for me, but I want to be in a situation where, and Shalita, it's like what you just said. I want to be in a situation where we're balanced, where we're planning for the future, where we both have our input in the relationship with regard to investments, with regard to business aspirations and helping build businesses. I'm in the unique experience where my husband and I are actually business partners on several levels. So we contribute to one another. But there have been, you know, situations where we've had conversations where I'm like, look, I might not be bringing as much as I used to, because, you know, I'm changing careers and I'm starting my own business. He's come to me with similar concerns, and I have to be able to trust that when I'm in that position, you know, maybe we'll slow down in the things that we do, but our lives won't come to a complete halt because he can't provide, and vice versa. So I absolutely want to be, and expect to be in a relationship where we balance each other like that.
Right.
At least on an equal level. You know, he shouldn't have to he shouldn't have to carry the load, and I shouldn't have to carry the load. But if circumstances present themselves in that, you know, somebody has to step up, I'm gonna need for the brother to step up, as I'm sure he'll need me to step up as well. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I look at it from that perspective as well. I mean, I'm able to provide myself for myself, but at the same time, I want someone just as ambitious as I am. Now, he doesn't have to make as much as me. He can make more than me. I mean, but that's neither here nor there. But I don't have any children of my own. So one day when I have children, I not only date for myself, I actually date for my children and children's children. I'm thinking future, I'm thinking legacy.
Yeah.
So I want to have someone that's able to provide just like I'm able to provide. And also, if something were to happen to me, I want to be with someone that's able to provide and take care of my kids the way that I would if I'm not here. So I think about all of those things when I'm dating someone. So his ability to provide is important, just like my ability to provide is.
Awesome.
You know, I want to say that it's not that big of a deal, but as soon as you asked that question, a thought came up from when I was dating early, and I got completely turned off by a guy I was dating because I called him. I had 2 flat tires, and I called him to help me, and he couldn't help me. And so, I mean, I knew when I met him that he was in a place that he wouldn't be able to do things like that, but I didn't, I mean, in all transparency, I didn't think it would affect me the way it did. It completely turned me off, and that kind of, the relationship fizzled out because when I called him and I needed some help, he couldn't help me. So I have to say that it's a little bit more important to me that I'm there to support you and you're there to support me. And if that can't happen, I can't really see building a relationship.
I think there's levels to providing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question on that, just to expand for clarification. So his inability to help at that time, was it a short-term inability or a long-term inability? Like he just doesn't have money, is never going to have it, or was his pockets just a little tight that time of the month?
It was temporary. So I'm almost ashamed to say it. He had lost his job, and something had happened. His car broke down, so he couldn't at that point come and help me. And I didn't know at the time that it was going to be temporary or how long it was going to be. But it was early enough in the relationship that I kind of was like, okay, never mind, this is not going to work. And I backed away.
Okay.
So I might have missed out on a good guy. I don't know, but it's too late now. But that situation immediately popped up in my head when you asked that question.
See, I think
A lot
that's
of chicken
fair.
sandwiches
That's
and you're not
fair
going
though,
back, huh?
Pearl. I think it's fair that you looked out for yourself. I mean, hindsight,
I did.
you'll never know, but I have stayed in relationships where the gentleman wasn't doing as well because I didn't want to be that chick. I didn't want to be the one saying, well, I don't want to, leave a man when he's down, and I don't want to
Right.
seem like I'm materialistic, and I don't want to seem like, I wouldn't support a good man. When all the while it's just like, why am I sacrificing the life that I want and I deserve and I'm working hard for somebody who, didn't manage his money right, or is not managing his money right, or is not ambitious? We should never put ourselves, and this is just what I've learned. I mean, this comes with age. We should never put ourselves in a situation where we're sacrificing for somebody who's not even trying to take care of themselves. Like, that's just, there's no fairness in that. And there's no shame in that game, Pearl. Girl, you had to go.
Yeah.
Effort
So
and
you gotta
progress
be
plays
able
a
to
big role.
provide
You
for
had to look out for
yourself.
yourself. Yeah.
Would you say that effort and progress plays a big role in that decision?
Say it again.
Would you say that, well, it was to Liz,
Okay.
the comment, would you say that effort and progress on behalf of that male plays a big role in that decision?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I'm with you and you're grinding and I see you're working hard and you're trying to get, you're trying to level up, I'm going to be with you 100%, 110. I'm going to support you. I'm going to give you what I can just to help you get there. But if you're dragging your feet and you're kind of just content with the fact that I'm holding it down, then it's not a fair game.
Yeah, well, that's a
And I'm not gonna
turnoff.
play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turnoff.
Absolutely.
That's a turnoff.
Okay. All right, so next question is, we're gonna throw this one to Shalita. And we're gonna twist it a little bit. How big of an influence does your circle have on your decision to commit? Friends, family, coworkers?
Oh,
I'm out. I gotta go.
said earlier. In all honesty, like I've learned a lot. I'm the baby, but I'm old school. I've learned a lot. You keep family out of it. You keep friends out of it. Like, as far as advice and wisdom, I do seek wise advice as far as wisdom from individuals who I've known going through, but those that I have a true connection with, that I know at the end of the day love and support me regardless of whatever decisions I make in life. But as far as the influence of the circle can sometimes, if you're going through a healing journey, 2, you're trying to build with a partner, they may not understand what you and that partner, the bond that y'all share, the connection that y'all have, the goals or the vision. Because sometimes, like I find in my own relationship, our vision is here, where some people might not just be on that level of thinking yet, or even spiritual. Like, you have a spiritual level, so some people are not even on that level, so they won't get it. So in reference to allowing my circle of influence to help me make decisions, honestly, they wouldn't even want to give me, because of the type of person I am and the friend that I am with them, they wouldn't even offer that. They would offer wisdom in a sense of, if I went to them with a true concern, as far as what to do. But I've learned, like I said, over time, you don't go to just any and everybody. Like, you keep people out your business. And so I would say not really much of, like talking about, like, I'm really private about my my relationship. I keep it private.
Awesome.
Yep.
Anyone else have something to add? I'm going to try and allow one of the attendees to ask a question. They did have one, so we're going to allow them to come in. But does anyone have anything they want to add on that note?
I think with me, as I've learned, the friend that tells you to leave is not the friend. The friend that gives you advice to give up and who decides that, you know, they're not going to be kind to your partner or your mate because of something that you've told them, that's not your friend. I've found friends in my circle that will talk me through it. They'll talk me off the ledge. And a lot of them hold me accountable. Well, Liz, what exactly did you do? How did you get there? How did you both get there? But they won't be part of my decision making. They won't tell me, you know, where to go, what to do. And those are the friends that I trust, and those are the friends that I have. But there are intimate parts of your relationship that just should never leave the bedroom. They should never leave the four walls of your house, because like you said, Shanita, they're not going to get it. And what we typically do wrong as women is we'll tell them all the bad stuff that happened. We'll tell them everything that he did wrong and said wrong and hurt us with, but we won't share the good stuff. You know?
I've been there. That
Yeah.
was actually my experience, and actually through, not even with friends. Like I found I was sharing more with a specific family member that I thought loved and supported us, that was married, and you know, as far as thinking their vision was aligned to where we wanted to go as far as the relationship, but it was the opposite. That family member was then creating other ordeals with, you know, passing business and this, that, and another. The whole time I'm thinking this person is really being truthful and supporting us. And so it created tension between me and my partner. So I've learned, even with family, you know, because at the end of the day, you would think people are really there to support you, and it's not the case. And that might be the people that saying, oh, giving you the wisdom the whole time,
Yeah.
you know, and really not even for you, you know, at the end of the day. So
Your safe bet is to keep it in house.
keep it in house. I've learned that.
Safer to keep it in house. Yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to try to reach out to Lola Joseph. She's in here. She asked the question earlier. And where did she go? Did she disappear? Looked like she disappeared. Nope. Oh well, toss that one.
We lost Lola.
So, sorry, Lola. We were going to give you some time, but so we'll move forward. This one it's something that someone asked a while, not asked, but I had a conversation with a friend just about a week ago, and she told me that there were times that she would not commit because she felt guilty about having friends in her circle who were unsuccessful in relationships. And so she's like, well, I don't want to go there because I don't want to feel bad about my girl. She doesn't have anybody, anything like that. So it struck me as odd. That's why I had to bring it up. So, but I can see from a few of the faces kind of like, girl, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna do me.
Exactly. Like I don't know too many women that wouldn't do them, honestly, you know.
Right. So
at the end
it
of
was
the day,
odd. I had to bring that up. I had to put it out there because we had quite a debate on that. She's like, oh yeah, a lot of women do that. And I was like, well, we're gonna see. So I'm gonna ask.
No.
But I can
especially
see
if
from
you
the
fall in
facial,
love.
I
If
can
you
see
fall
from the
in
facial
love, or
expression.
yeah,
that
if you
was
desire
me.
someone, fall in love with someone, you're not typical woman. We kind of isolate ourselves. We done found somebody. So at the end of the day, we're not focused on who doesn't have anybody, or let me not get somebody because we're not doing that.
I mean, I'm sorry, and I'm gonna pray for you. I'm gonna pray for you. I'm gonna pray that the Lord
Some might forget to pray.
your Boaz, but I'm gonna go as myself and
Thank you.
be with my
Some
man.
people really do feel guilty about that, because my best friend has been with her husband for like 13 years, I believe.
Nice.
And she said years ago, I'm married to my soulmate. I'm so connected to him. And sometimes I feel guilty about that. And I think the guilt is because there's a lot of failed relationships in her family. Her friends, including myself, were in, had failed relationships. And at the time I was completely single. So I think she just, I don't know, for whatever reason, she felt guilty subconsciously.
Mhm. Yeah, I can't say.
So we got two people. I feel that way.
Mhm.
Two people.
I don't feel that way.
Leah doesn't feel that way.
Leah,
But your friend, no, because her friend did commit. So that's not the same. Your friend was saying that she wouldn't commit. Her friend did commit.
Oh, she wouldn't commit? Oh, no.
She misunderstood.
I did misunderstand.
Okay. Lanika, we're gonna shoot this one at you, and then we're gonna let everyone else chime in behind it, of course. Outside of a formal discussion, how would someone know that you are committed to them?
Time breeds commitment. So if all my time is spent with one person, it's pretty obvious that I'm committed.
Or
Yeah.
in business with them?
Well, you know, I feel like if I'm spending, you know, my free time with you, I think most people in my life, most people in my circle kind of know what my life looks like. And so they know if I am spending my free time with them, and they're going to know that we're in a relationship, and that's what I expect. So I know if I'm spending all my time with you, you better be committed back, or you know, and I don't know that that's a conversation that I expect to have. I think it's kind of obvious.
Good. I do want to ask a question on that. So in relationships, we do have a lot of expectations, but the
Oh, yeah.
expectations are usually based on our train of thought.
Right.
So how do we overcome that hurdle between the expectations and the way we think it should go versus our partner thinking it should go? Because on one end, I'll give an example. A guy may say that he pays the bills, he provides, he does these things. So to him, that's his way of showing commitment. But to the woman, that may not be it. So how do we bridge that gap versus, I guess it would be perception.
Yeah, I
The
think
two different,
perception.
the two different modes of perception, or two
I
different
think-
angles.
Well, I think that's why the first year of marriage is hell for most people, right? Because you get in and you have all these expectations that you have not communicated to the other person, and they have expectations of you that you didn't know anything about. And so that first year, you're just trying to find your way. What I have found being married for so long, being divorced, and then being in long-term relationships is that the communication has to be consistent. So you have to be talking all the time. And if you're talking all the time, then those conversations are just going to be organic and natural without being forced. You said absent of the conversation about commitment, but I don't think there's ever absent a conversation about commitment if you're truly trying to move in that direction. Especially, you know, I don't know, I think especially for women, because you want to know that he doesn't think that you're casual. Like, you think this casual? You think you can go see somebody else tomorrow? Like, is that what you think you can do? Because we need to have a conversation about that. If that's what you think you can do, you know?
'Cause you
So I
can't do
think,
that.
yeah, I think you communicate anyway.
Mhm.
I think it's gonna
Okay.
come up.
Some
Next
of the
one.
biggest arguments that I've had have been because of something I did not say or
Yeah.
did not communicate.
Mm.
That the biggest misunderstandings that have plagued my you know, dating and then subsequent marriage to my husband is because of something that I did not say. And I learned that if I feel it, say it. If it bothers me, say it. And he understands. And you have to find that partner that will listen, may not like what they hear, but at least they'll listen and have enough respect to, you know, you don't want to change anyone because you're just not going to, but at least find the person who's going to say, you know what, okay, I see that bothers you. That's something that I'll work on. Or, you know, that's something that I'll respect and I'll do the best that I can to not do. But if you don't tell them, they're never going to know, and it just gets worse and it's toxic. You harbor it and then it just turns into a bigger problem down the line.
I noticed for me, I lived in that, especially going through transformation, through healing, etc. At the very beginning of my new relationship, I was really heavy with the expectations, simply because of the trauma I had experienced in the previous relationship, or even growing up My father, wasn't the typical, perfect man that, every little girl may want or desire as a father. And our relationship was very odd, per se, but I think for me, I had this way of thinking how like this perfect world or this perfect idea of a relationship or a marriage. And even finding myself being able to come to grip with even looking back and saying there were moments in my previous relationship where I was the fault. I was the blame and my ways of thinking because of the trauma that I experienced as a young girl or as a young woman and growing into a relationship or marriage. And I think in this relationship, I'm transforming my ideas of what a relationship or a bond and et cetera, or commitment in general looks like for me, first and foremost, but also together with my partner, because if I rely back to what what I used to do or how I used to think, that mindset, I will jeopardize this relationship. So I think that alone comes with the healing or just a true honesty within myself saying, okay, you have to change this about you. This is a flaw. It's toxic in a sense. So what are you going to do about it? And how can you move forward? So it's just like, just constantly, healing, praying, and coming to, just having a renewal of the mindset in general.
Okay. So because we're getting close to the end, I do want to ask a couple of more questions, but we're going to leave them open to all of the panelists. And I'm going to ask this one: what experiences with family, if any, have affected your desire and or fear to commit?
That kind of stemmed from what I just spoke on.
I was thinking that.
I'll say he passed away 2 years ago, and it's like looking back now, I see our relationship differently than what I did, and I'm speaking of my father, differently from when he was alive. My dad had several women in a sense of fathering children with several different women. He had 15 children altogether. So looking at that, growing up or just seeing different things and the relationship him and my mother and others shared really did not do justice for me. And on top of him building me into being that dominant young woman and being so independent, always telling me, do for yourself, you never have to worry about a man, et cetera, et cetera. Instilling that all in me really didn't, it was a blessing and a curse, I'll say, in some instances where it really helped me, and other instances it really harmed my relationships in general. So I'd say that really kind of jeopardized because it's constantly in the back of my mind, and that comes along with that healing because that was a traumatic ordeal for me. Because I do have that guard up when I'm in relationships.
For me, it was crucial. Mom and dad, when I was young, would argue, fuss, fight often. And it was scary. But in the back of my mind, what I internalized was if my mama would not have said anything back, there would have been no argument. So it was then that I lost my voice. So I went into my marriage thinking, well, I'm not going to argue because I didn't like how I felt when arguing was going on around me. And so I was basically then doomed to fail before I started. And so I had to learn. That was there 11 years, not saying anything. Now, there would be times when I'd be pushed to argue, but it was a push. Like he had to literally do something really drastic or dramatic for me to argue with him. But instead of saying, you know what, this is not right, this doesn't make sense, or even having that banter, that conversation back, I kept quiet until I finally got to the place where, you know what, I can't do it anymore. And my mama used to always say, if it hurts, say ouch. And so after that, those 11 years, it was toward the end that I finally said, you know what, I'm not happy. And there were some other lying things that I won't go into now that really pushed that on. But I took, and I can't blame my mama because it wasn't my mama's fault. My mama was communicating. My mama was saying what was going on. I took it from my aspect thinking, you know what, there wouldn't be an argument if you wouldn't argue back. And so that's what I took.
That's
I've been there. Yeah.
All of rejection.
It took some time, but Now we're gonna have that conversation even if it hurts. So
You see,
now my thing is,
Man, I've been there, Pearl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me on the
There
flip
wouldn't
end,
be an
I was the
argument if I didn't argue back, and that's the
Right.
worst thing we could do to ourselves.
Right.
So-
I was the young girl, and even with my father. So it's crazy that you say that, because I totally get it. Because and still to a degree, I'm that woman. I'm like, oh, wait, that's gonna happen. Oh, wait, like the first little sign, the little titty bitty sign of, whatever.
yes,
Like I'm flying in rage. I'm like, oh, this is gonna happen because of what I saw. Or me telling myself, I don't want to be like my mom because my dad did this to my mom. So I totally get it.
Yeah, I think on the flip side of that, I have maybe an unrealistic expectation of what a man should be, because my dad is incredible. And so he literally every single morning gets up before my mother, makes her coffee, brings it to her, every day, no matter what it is that she wants. He's in his car, he's going to get it. If it takes 3-4 trips, she redecorates her house every 3 months. He's out there selling furniture, buying furniture, so.
Go, Dad.
Yeah, my dad is incredible. And, he shows up. When I got divorced, he got on the plane and made sure that, the house I moved into was working and all the doors, the latches worked. And he's just, a man's man. And so for me, I don't know. I don't have a lot of patience. I normally tell people when they ask me why one particular relationship ended, that I was where I was engaged. And I say, you know what, regardless of how it ended, that was the best relationship that I had, because I truly had a partner, because he was like that. He would make sure I was taken care of on a daily basis. He would get up every morning, make sure I had what I needed before I went to work. If I was working on a project at work, he would stay up all night and work on it with me. And that, for me, that is how somebody shows me love. And so if I don't see that, I'm like, you don't really want me. You're not really into this.
I hear you.
So
My situation is very similar to yours. My parents have been married, together for 40 years.
yeah.
And they are lovebirds, honestly.
Mhm.
And he spoils the heck out of her. So
Yeah.
Watching that over the years honestly gave me faith and love, even after some of my failed relationships.
Mhm.
My parents also gave me a realistic expectation of a relationship. I
Mhm.
watched the good times, the not so good times, the arguments, them being flirty and extremely affectionate with one another. I watched all of that, and it helped me to set a realistic expectation of what a relationship is. I know a relationship is not the fairy tales we see on TV. It takes
Right.
work. And I
It's
saw my
work.
parents do the work, and they have a very loving, healthy relationship as a result.
Mhm.
So it actually benefited me. And even, like I said, after some of my failed relationships, I watched my parents over the years, and I said, you know what? I can do this. It gave me the courage to move forward. So it was a positive thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
No, but Carlos said he'll do everything except make coffee.
Yeah,
we need the coffee.
and he's being very honest.
Right.
He ain't telling no lies. And we have a Keurig. How hard could it be? Put the pot in the thing and press it.
I'm not even gonna comment on you and Carlos, because I know Carlos. I know Carlos. Okay, so
Not a
last
problem.
big question. Well, so the last big question is, what have you done? It's to all panelists, what have you done to prepare yourself for commitment and the success of your next relationship? Or the one you're currently in?
Counseling.
I've stopped being a brat. I've stopped thinking that it should all revolve around the wife. Happy, what is it? Happy wife, happy life. Nah. It's too, it takes two. It's a give and take. And I have learned that appreciation probably right under communication in certain ways is a huge factor in building a substantial, loving relationship. Because what I thought would have made me happy a few years ago as a younger woman is nothing compared to the things that make me happy now. Like I'll walk in the house and he'd have done just he something like this. Like he'd have done something where he put up, you know, the pictures of all the books that I've written. He measured everything and set it and, you know, centered it. And so that when I'm at my desk, it's inspiring to me to look up, to see the work and encourage me to do more. I'll take that over anything materialistic. And I would never have thought that, you know, a few years ago. I would have, you know, a few years ago, I'd have been like, man, you better, no, I want to go out to a nice dinner, or, you know, I want a pretty gift or something, you know, to show the world that, you know, I'm happy and I have a good guy. But now at this age, the world don't need to know. He does it. I appreciate it. And the encouragement that comes with it is a lot more important than anything I could ever imagine. So that's where my mindset is now.
I don't think preparation ever ends.
Right.
I think we're always preparing. I feel like after my divorce, I did a lot of healing and I was ready. And then I entered into another relationship where I was, you know, I was completely focused on doing things differently than I did in my marriage. And that relationship ended and the trauma was different. So it's a whole different kind of healing that had to happen. So then you're preparing in a different way. So I don't think that we ever stop. I don't think we ever stop growing. I don't think we ever stop healing. And I don't think preparation ever ends.
Especially for women.
Yeah.
We're such evolving creatures, you know, because we go through motherhood, you know, having babies, like you're constantly changing, having to change by the day, the hour, the minute. So unlike, whereas maybe with men, you know, they're a little bit more complacent with their everyday, you know, you typically see them staying more on the same job for years or whatever. And then whereas with us, we're always looking for betterment in some way, shape or form. And I think even with that challenge tends to push them to, I mean, when you find the right woman, she'll push you into a different level, you know, as far as that. So just I'd say preparation. I agree with the ladies, like at the end of the day, it never ends. You're constantly becoming a better person and you're pushing your partner to even be better. So.
Yep.
Anyone else?
The biggest thing for me has been to take time to heal and to remember my voice. And so that's something that I think that because I am an introvert and because I am okay with being by myself, that I have to consistently work on. I have to consistently work on when to use my voice and how to use my voice. So I think that my preparing for this relationship that I'm in is to say that he already knows I have issues with commitment and I will get somewhere and get comfortable. And so he'll pull it out of me. So we're going to have a conversation and you're going to remember that we're supposed to be having true, intimate conversations about everything. And so because I am where I am and I am thankful for where I am, I'm just knowing that I'm forever a work in progress and I just have to keep going forward.
Amen, Pearl.
And being okay with that, because we are a work in progress, you know, like sometimes we're too hard on ourselves as women, you know.
Oh, we beat ourselves up so badly.
Absolutely.
All the time. Yeah. And it's just it's not productive.
Yeah. I prepared in a few ways. I talked to and observed others in very healthy and committed relationships. I prayed for myself and my future mate. And I also manifested and prayed for the things that I wanted to heal in my life and the type of man that I wanted. That was important to me. And the other thing that I did, I went to therapy to heal my wounds. And I wanted to change my pattern of thinking, my way of thinking. about a lot of different things. In some cases, I had a very negative frame of mind, especially about myself and about past experiences. And my therapist helped me to change that. I did the work.
Absolutely. I agree with Leah. The work
Yes.
must be done. And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to reach out to a trusted source. Sometimes you just don't have the tools in your toolbox.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
Find that support system.
mhm.
So I think that answered one of the questions that we had from one of the attendees. They say, would you consider counseling if things got hard in your relationship? So I think that with the agreement and support for Leah's comment on going to therapy prior to the next relationship, I think you guys would probably agree that therapy within it is paramount.
I will say not couples, as far as couples counseling, like I would suggest the person to just start off on their own first. And then if their mate decides to go, then, they would go, but I would definitely suggest, individual counseling. Cause sometimes like in my previous relationship, I would push, and it wouldn't occur. And I would get frustrated because that was an expectation and for me, that was my way of trying to prepare or save or, what we had at that moment. But sometimes others are just not, ready or committed to going that in that depth. So I would definitely suggest just taking care of you first in that way by getting the counseling that you feel you may need.
I don't know if if other people would be comfortable with this, but what I did in my last relationship was when it was over and we agreed that it was over, we went to counseling together. And because it was a traumatic breakup and we both needed to heal. And so we went to counseling together and literally walked through our relationship. And at the end of it, realized that we came together in a moment and it was never supposed to be a life, but it was, something that we had to come to because we were both devastated by the end of it. And we had to figure out, why did something that we both wanted so much, why did it come to an end and to a place where we couldn't fix it? And we only did maybe 3 sessions, but it was very, very helpful for us just to be able to walk through our relationship and pinpoint those codependent moments that created this perfect storm that made us think that we were supposed to be forever and we weren't.
I think that's dope. Wow, I've never heard that
Right.
before.
PTRS, post-traumatic relationship syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. We burn up our time this evening, going a little bit over, but that's perfectly fine by me. But in closing, going to ask everybody one question, each of you, 60 seconds or less. What one piece of advice you would give to the man in your life that is trying to get you to commit, or with hopes that you would commit to him? What piece of advice could you give him that would make you feel more comfortable with it?
For me, it's always be consistent and keep that give a damn ability.
Yes, God.
She found her voice.
And she's using it. You
Yes,
better go,
she is.
Pearl. Ooh.
Yeah.
Say, Liz?
I don't even know how to top that. But yeah, that I like that. I'm going to use the word often from now on. But I'll add to that. Listen to me, respect me, understand when I say that I'm hurt, and talk to me about it. Don't dismiss me.
I think it would possibly be the same across the board. Consistency, because without consistency, the guard cannot be let down. Trust is hard to build. Respect, of course, respect boundaries. And then also, as Ms. Liz and also Pearl stated, having the empathy to understand, not just understand or listen to respond, but listen to understand with empathy for your partner.
Yeah. I would say be consistent. I think that's pretty much across the board. Everybody wants that, but I would say for me specifically, be patient and be flexible.
I would say be patient with her, hold her hand through every step of the journey, because there could be past fears and traumas. And ultimately, the goal is to make her never feel alone again.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Nice button.
Awesome. Ladies, I thank you all for participating. You guys are totally awesome. We did miss Miss Carrie, but again, she was celebrating her anniversary, and we're going to throw her husband under the bus again for getting the dates confused on this. But right now, he's somewhere spending some of that provider money trying to make up for it. So.
That's all part of the lesson.
Right.
So, I thank you all. This is very wonderful, very enlightening and insightful. We did have some technical difficulties getting it to go live on Facebook. I don't know what was going on with that, but we'll clear that up for the next one. But we did record it, so I will edit it for the dead spots, get those out of there. I don't want to take anyone's comments out because they were all great. I love all the dialogue and the responses, so that's pretty much going to remain intact. But in the future, we will have it available so that you can share it. I was able to put it live on YouTube, so it'll be there as well in the meantime, although not in its entirety, but we'll have it. You guys will know that it's there. Thank you for coming in. I look forward to having you again. And in another 30 to 45 days, we're going to have part 3 of this. The first one was why men don't commit. This one is women commitment and challenges. And the third one is going to have a co-ed panel where we bring the men and the women together to talk about commitment. And I suspect that one's going to be pretty in depth and still respectful, but we're going to get down to the nitty gritty and try to, dispel some of these myths and all of these little Trojan horses that tear us apart. So
Good.
Thank you, ladies. You all look
Thank you for the
lovely tonight.
opportunity.
You all
Ladies.
look lovely. You have a great evening. Tell Carlos I said, get up and fix the coffee.
Make some coffee. Make the pod, you put it in the thing.
That's it. Bring me the cup.
Ladies, it's been amazing. I was in such good company today. I appreciate everything you guys left me with. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. It was
Thank
amazing.
you.
My ears were wide open.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, y'all.
It was a pleasure.
You ladies have a good night.
Thank you.
Good
Yeah,
night.
I too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.